Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3Y TV Tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series from the Texas Motor Speedway, the Lone Star State. 1.5 miles playing host to tonight's race. I'm Peter Short, and alongside tonight is Andre Grambush. And Andre, we're back at 1.5 miles. This is the third 1.5 mile race that we've had in the opening 5 events so far this season. But for some drivers, they'll just be happy they're not turning right after last week's road course race at Road America.
Yeah, Road America was quite fun to watch from a spectator's perspective. Maybe not so fun to drive, but we saw a lot of unexpected moments. The race got turned on its head, I don't know, about a dozen times, so that was a ton of fun. Now we're here at Texas, a track that is, considerably less fun, I think, from a spectator's perspective, but these guys have not disappointed yet this year. They've gone from track to track, and no matter where they go, they've put on a really good show, so I've got my faith in the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. Put on a good show no matter where we go. Looks like the 9 car having a little bit of trouble coming out of turn 2, and I tell you what, that is going to be the trouble spot, Peter. Turn 2, where that banking evens out, it's going to get a little bit loose.
Yeah, of course, they reconfigured this racetrack a couple of years ago, and after that reconfiguring happened, it's very different in turn number 1 and 2 than turn number 3 and 4. It's a lot flatter, and of course, that exit out of turn number 2 was always difficult, even from when Texas Motor Speedway opened in the late 90s, as that banking just drops away from you. But it's going to be even more tricky with these trucks here tonight, because as you can see right there through 3 and 4, you're pretty much flat out as we ride on board with the Simbox.com number 52 machine of David Buell. Here's turn number 1 and 2. Look how wide the racetrack is. It is much wider around the top than on the bottom from a radius perspective, but Buell handles that transition onto the backstretch very well. Very high speed here tonight at this racetrack. Not quite as fast as it used to be before the reconfigurement, but nonetheless, a very, very fast race course that we'll see on hand. But unlike what we saw a couple weeks ago at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Andre, don't expect to see a whole lot of pack racing, maybe for the first 5 to 10 laps until these tires start to wear out, but then I expect to see the field get spread out a little bit more than what we have seen in some other oval races so far this season.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. Looking back at Vegas, which is really, I think, the most similar track we can compare this to in terms of driving style, that track was not as hard on the tires as you'd expect. So we had a lot of pack racing. And then here at Texas, tires are they're going to get cheese grated. And I think you're exactly right, Peter. You're going to see these guys get a little bit separated. And I think conservation is going to be the name of the game tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, these guys back down to their 50% fuel capacity for 1.5 miles, meaning we're going to see quite a bit of pit road action. And of course, a stage on lap 20 tonight, which I'm not sure if they can make it to lap 20 with 50% capacity, but we'll have to wait and see. If they can, it'll definitely be towards the end of the run. Fred Lester finishing out his practice run, as is everybody else. It was Scott Crump, fastest in practice. Now they get onto the track for qualifying, and Scrump finally gave up the pole last week. It was the first week this year that he did not get the pole, so the Rocket Man of the league trying to maybe get back on top of the podium here tonight.
Yeah, that is for sure. So far, seeing pole on every oval that we have been to. And of course, last week, like we mentioned, it was Road America. We were turning right as well as left last week, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the race. There was a lot of close action, especially in the middle half of the race. At the very end, a couple of mistakes were made by drivers that allowed Philip Scott and the World Ninja League machine to get away from the field and get the W. Now, I was expecting to not see Philip Scott in the race here tonight. He was out running the Sebring 12-hour race with his teammates. Bad news, they wrecked out of their iRacing race, so he said, hey, I'm going to use this opportunity to actually race in tonight's Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series race, and we'll see how well that number 99 does. Here is Matt Cherry. He'll be the first driver to take time here as he works his way out of turn number 4, coming to the start-finish line right here. You'll see that time pop up there on the left-hand side of your screen at 30.41 on lap number 1. He's pipped by a good margin by the winner a couple of rounds ago. That's Jason Freeman, but now Freeman has dropped down to second. It's the number 9 of Lashinsky jumps to the top. But as I say that, the revolving cycle that is lap times coming in thick and fast here, Andre, as currently Fred Lester, the number 48, is top of the board with 3:16 left to play.
Yeah, Fred Lester was no slouch in practice. He definitely showed some pace, so wouldn't surprise me to see him do pretty well here in qualifying. Matt Cherry's going to jump up to second with a tie as far as timing and scoring is concerned with Lester. But then Doug Neal and Steven Lashinsky, they're going to put in their laps, and they have something to say about it. Dominic Tesoro on the number 69, he finishes his second lap, jumps up to second place, and it looks like Julian Tesoro with his second lap is going to be P11. But it's still that number 9 of Lashinsky, top of the pylon by about 1/100th of a second over Adam Newton, who, tell you what, Peter, that 29's got some momentum after last week, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on him tonight.
Yeah, Adam Newton's had a couple of relatively quiet races, but that's really what Adam Newton is best at, is making the most of the truck that's been given to him by the end of the night. He might not be there every single lap, but I'll be all surprised if Adam Newton creeps up into the top 5 or the top 3 before the night is all said and done, as the Budweiser number 29 is currently on the podium of the drivers. As I say that, though, Justin White, good to see him back in the field. He, I don't think, raced, I don't recall the number 2 Grind's Coffee Pouches Chevrolet last week at Road America, so the league administrator taking a week off. But as we say that, Scott Crump, Rocket Man, has jumped to the top of the charts here. Andre, 5/100ths of a second faster by Doug Neal. He's going to try and have another crack at it. I think that was his first lap. We'll see if he can better that lap this time, as we've had 19 drivers so far take time all the way down to the number 13 machine of Josh Smith. Now make that 20 drivers have taken time, as Scott Crump is just going to bring it down on to pit road. Let's see if we can find some other drivers out there right now. Here is one of them. We mentioned just flying virtually halfway across the United States from Florida to the state of Texas, and he's just going to park it there. He might not have got a lot of practice time in the truck, Andre, because his team just had the accident about 30 minutes ago. So he jumped out of his GT3 car or GT car or LMP car, whatever he was running, and is now going into the truck. He might not have a lot of practice time, so we'll see what Philip Scott does as the night progresses.
I tell you what, one of the most difficult things to do as a driver is to jump between cars. It's one thing when you're just running the same car every week, week in and week out. You get used to it. You kind of build up that muscle memory, and then you get in another car and you destroy that muscle memory, and then you climb back in the truck and you feel like, man, what am I doing here? So it's going to maybe take him a few laps, but I got faith Philip Scott's going to get comfortable behind the wheel of that thing. He's got plenty of time tonight. It's a long race, so even if he has to take it easy and get a feel for the track and the weather conditions and everything he's going to be facing, by the end of this thing, he'll have a grip on it. But qualifying about the timeout, I don't believe anybody else is out on track. I believe everybody has posted their time. And I'll tell you what, Peter, not a whole lot of separation, only really 0.5 of a second from 1st to 19th. And then Smith, I think, must have had some sort of issue with his lap. He's about 5 seconds back. But, yeah, I mean, half a second for a mile and a half, that is pretty close.
Yeah, when, of course, I think once the tires start to wear off, we'll actually start to see maybe a little bit more gaps develop in the field. But let's see if we can figure out our starting lineup, see where your favorite driver qualified here for tonight's 301-kilometer event here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Rocket Man Scott Crump on the pole once again, just like he was at Atlanta, just like he was at Las Vegas and Daytona. So that number 8 is the driver to beat so far here tonight, still looking for his first win this season. Alongside him, Doug Neal in the number 77 Simbox Motorsports machine. Great qualifying run out of Doug Neal to start towards the front of the field. There he is in that number 77, sporting his own colors here this week, as he is the owner-operator of Simbox. If you want a button box, go check them out on Facebook. Justin White will be starting on the inside of row number 2 in the number 2. Great qualifying run for him. Steven Lashinsky in the number 9 will be rolling off alongside him. Adam Newton, David Buell will be on row number 3 here tonight. So like we mentioned, Adam Newton kind of gets those top 5 kind of quietly. Keep your eyes on him. We might not mention him a whole lot here tonight. That's kind of the status quo for Adam Newton. but keep your eyes on that scoring pylon all night long. David Buell in the other Simbox machine. Now, if you'll notice, Doug Neal is in a Chevrolet. Well, his teammate, David Buell, has said, you know what, to heck with that, I ain't running no Chevrolet. He's running the Simbox Toyota here tonight. Very similar paint scheme, but if you can tell a Chevrolet apart from a Toyota, you're doing good, and probably better than I am up here in the commentary booth. But the number 52 of David Buell will be rolling off on the outside of row 3. Dominic Tesoro will be rolling off on the inside of row number 4. Great run last week. Fred Lester in the number 48 will be rolling off alongside him. Matt Cherry in the number 51 will start in 9th. He has done well here at Texas Motor Speedway in the past in this league. And Jason Freeman rounds out our top 10, Andre.
P11 is going to go to Jeff Price in that number 14 machine, right alongside Bryce Hunter in the 19, taking 12th place. 13th goes to John Flemin, and he's going to be rolling off alongside Jimbo Casterline in that 18 truck. Not a bad qualifying effort out of that number 18 for 14th. Julian Tesoro is going to be P15 next to Philip Scott, who again just flying the virtual helicopter back to Texas to get into this race last minute. Adam Dama, good to see him in the field. He's going to be rolling off P17 right alongside Joshua Corner. And rounding out our top 20 is going to be Vinny Valvano and Josh Smith. And the rest of the grid, that's going to be Brandon King, Jason Shu, and Garrett Gleason.
So a good field here tonight. 23 trucks will take time here at this racetrack. Now, one driver I'll be keeping my eye on is Jeff Price. He has been having computer troubles. He is hoping to see out all 300 kilometers here tonight at this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Pace truck heads down onto pit road. Remember, we will have a stage caution on lap number 20, but the field is coming down to take the green for the first time here tonight, and it will be Scott Crump getting us underway. We're racing here at Texas Motor Speedway.
77 made a valiant effort up on the high line. He got a pretty good start, but of course the leader just having that little bit of an advantage, getting to start the race at the green flag, and that got him clear. And I think clean air is going to be pretty important. So we'll see exactly how long the number 8 can keep this advantage, what the drivers behind are going to try to do to make the pass. I'm honestly a little bit unfamiliar with the trucks at Texas with the new build on iRacing and all the things they've changed. So I don't really know how this track races. I'm not sure what the strategy is going to be to pass. But speaking of passing, look at Justin White. He moves up into P2, just going to slot right in there onto the podium. And now, looks like he's going to try to dive it down low, close the gap to the number 8. If he can't get right to that tailgate, he's going to try it again next corner. And Adam Newton, he also gained a position on that initial start. He goes from 5th to 4th, but he's going to have to fight for it. The number 9, door to door into 3 and 4. Of course, the faster of the 4 corners. You mentioned almost wide open on fresh tires. Maybe a little bit of lifting further back in the grid with the dirty air and just having the trucks in front of you. But if you're at the front of the field, you're going to be flat-footing it through there. And the lap times at this track, of course, very, very quick for these trucks. And the 14 looks like he is going to take that position from the number 9. And he is going to slot in. But the number 9, he's kind of going the wrong way here, Peter.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. Steven Lashinsky has dropped from 4th to 8th here in the opening 3 laps. Definitely not where you want to start tonight. But, Andre, one thing to think about, and we saw this at Las Vegas, where tire strategy came into play. At Las Vegas and here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway, we do have a limited number of tire changes, and that limit is at 3. And, of course, at Las Vegas, we saw Jason Freeman have an extra set and go out and get the win there at, ooh, man, you might have just put the apron there in that number 20 machine. So I just wonder if, Lashinsky might be dropping backwards, but he might also be saving his tires just a little bit, because if he can avoid having to change a set of tires under that stage caution that we're going to have here in just 15 or so laps, that could be really beneficial. So we're thinking about 3 wide here. Here is the number 20, Jason Freeman in the middle, Bryce Hunter to his outside, and on the inside, that's the number 92 of Julian Tesoro, who had to back out there, Andre. That was almost a big moment in turn 3 and 4.
I don't know how you make quarter panel contact in the middle of a wide open corner and don't wreck, but somehow these guys found a way. That was a very impressive drive by these guys to keep it in line, and if they have live spotters working for them, then they're doing a good job too. And if they don't, well, then props to the iRacing spotter, because that could have been a big moment, like you said. We're going to go into 3 and 4, not 3 wide this time, but 2 wide and the 19 trying to pinch that number 20 down as low as he can. And the 20 clips the apron just a little bit. That's going to stall out his momentum, gives the advantage to the 19. And I tell you what, that apron is going to be the thing they got to watch out for tonight, because the fast line is around the bottom. The closer you can get to that white line, the better. But this is not one of those tracks on the surface that you can get away with touching the apron. Vegas, you can almost get away with it. Atlanta, it's a little bit sketchy, but you can survive it. Here at Texas, if you touch that apron, bad things are going to happen, and you're just going to be along for the ride. So they're going to have to be extremely cautious of that all night long. But again, these guys have a bit of a reputation for keeping it clean, and for some reason, just able to deprive us of all the yellow flags.
Oh, contact! And that's not keeping it clean.
Never mind.
Yeah, he just had to jinx it. That's Adam Dama and Fred Lester there. Let's see if we can dial up the 3-wide TV replay of what just happened between Dama and Lester coming through the tri-oval, or the quad-oval, if you will, right here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Here we go, and we're going to put this into slow motion, and they just made contact right there through the second dog leg, and Dama heavy contact with the outside wall, same with the number 48. So Dama, the 28, and Fred Lester in the 48. And look at Jimbo there in the number 18, having to do a little bit of dirt tracking in his machine. Great save there out of the Stay Tuned Sports F-150. They were able to keep things kind of going.
Oh, man.
All
right at the
at
end of that
speed.
Replay, too. A little bit of contact right as that replay cut out. They were 3 wide, a little bit of quarter panel contact, but they were able to sort it out. So Texas proven to be, again, more exciting than expected. I think you and I both, Peter, when we heard we're going to Texas, we're thinking, great, going to Texas. These guys don't disappoint. It doesn't matter where they go. They always have a lot of fun. So 28 is going to have to get some damage fixed up. That thing's looking, I'd say it looks like a pancake, but pancakes are flat, and there's quite a few dings and dents in that right-hand side, as is there with Fred Lester. And that incident really boils down to just a little bit of spatial awareness. The quad oval at Texas is pretty wide, but it's also a pretty sharp corner. And if you go to arc out like you normally would, and there happens to be somebody up there, that's what's going to happen. So you got to have that spatial awareness. Up front, we're riding along with our leader, Scott Crump. He's not giving it up yet. 11 laps on the board, 11 laps led. But tell you what, Justin White in that number 2 Grinds Coffee Pouch Chevrolet, he's not giving it up, Peter. He's been right on that tailgate, and he has not lost I'd say an inch of track position. He's just waiting for the mistake. He's waiting for the bobble out of the number 8. The problem with that is that Scott Crump doesn't tend to make a whole lot of mistakes, so he might be waiting a while, but he is going to close that gap, and that number 2 is hungry. He's got a rocket ship, just needs the door to open.
Yeah, and of course, stage points on the line now, coming to 8 laps until we see that caution flag fly here at Texas Motor Speedway. See a little bit of a gap develop there right on exit of turn number 4, but if you look a couple of drivers back, there is some side-by-side action. This is Matt Cherry looking to the outside of Jeff Price. Price has been one of our biggest movers of the race so far, gaining 6 positions, so pretty impressive out of the number 14 Back Channel Productions Chevrolet Silverado. And like I mentioned, he's been having computer problems. Computer has been overheating, and we hope to see him out on the racetrack, and so far so good. Hopefully that doesn't jinx it, as we are just now eclipsing the 10% mark in tonight's race. If you're just now joining us, green flag all the way here in tonight's Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series Texas 301. I'm Peter Short, and alongside me is Andre Grambush. How's the chat doing here tonight? So far, it looks a little bit quiet in the chat, but we got a couple of people watching. Hope you all are doing well. A couple of drivers not in tonight's field because of the fact that the Sebring 12-hour event is going on right now in the iRacing.com simulator, and one of those who's pretty much a main staple here on the channel for the last 2 years at least. That's Bill Edwards. Hopefully Bill and his team are doing well in their version of the Sebring 12-hour here in iRacing. Not sure what Bill's racing, but nonetheless, up front, we do have a battle, however. It looks like the number 69, Dominic Tesoro, looking underneath Doug Neal. Those points are on the line. We're coming to 5 laps. Still the one and only stage caution here in just a little bit, and I think that's going to light the flame underneath Dominic Tesoro to try and make this pass.
I think he's going to be able to get him clear, and he does going into turn 1. Got a little bit of gap to make up to the number 2, but before he worries about that, he's got to worry about that 77, because that 77 didn't take that pass line down. He didn't just roll out of the throttle and give him space. He is still right there. And speaking of passing, the number 29 is going to slingshot engage right around Rowdy Burns in the 51. Not actually Rowdy Burns, but I do love that font. And he is going to be clear up into that position. So just kind of quietly picking off the field, which is, well, that's his MO. That's Adam Newton for you. But look at this battle right here. Again, stage points on the line. We've got Philip Scott trying to get up to a position where he can maybe claim some stage points, but to do so, he's got to get around Freeman in that number 20. And he's not the only one trying to do so. It is a freight train of cars. 4 trucks under a blanket. Don't know how you could even navigate the track that close, but they're somehow doing it. Philip Scott right on the tailgate, and the cars behind, they're going to give him a little bit of room. I think that might be intentional, Peter. I think they saw the way things were going, and they realized they needed a breather.
Yeah, and a little bit of a breather. They shall get back to single file. Let's jump up to the battle for the race lead. You see a couple of truck lengths now between Scott Crump and the front nose of Justin White. Maybe the gap's starting to slim down behind the number 2 as Dominic Tesoro is starting to knock on the door. Just 2 laps until the stage caution does appear. Philip Scott making a pass on David Buell to move up into the 11th position in that 4-truck battle that we just had an eye on. And there Justin White in hard in the outside wall, pancaking the right-hand side of his Chevy Silverado. That's going to be big-time damage. And Andre, you mentioned turn number 2 earlier at the top of the show as the difficult corner here at Texas Motor Speedway, and I think we just saw that there.
Yeah, Justin was really pushing that truck. He was trying to get around Crump. He wanted to win the stage, and unfortunately, I think he just pushed it a little bit too hard, and into the outside wall he went. That's going to cost him not only the stage win, but quite a few stage points. He's going from 2nd to 5th, and he's still got to fend off the trucks behind for another half a lap, so we'll see if he drops any further. The 29 closing in down the straightaway now. Luckily, to Justin White's saving grace is that he's going to have this caution coming out where he can maybe get some of that damage fixed up. But in the meantime, with that incident, Crump has no competition from behind. Then he's going to take the stage win. And Dominic Tesoro, he raced his way through the grid all the way up to 2nd place before the end of this stage. Don't count him out for this race. That is not an uncommon sight to see that 69 carving his way up through the grid. And Doug Neal in the 77, he qualified 2nd, finishes 3rd in the stage. Not too bad, Doug. And Jeff Price, he's another driver that gained a few positions that stage. He finishes 4th and 5th place in that stage. Justin White after that incident. And the rest of the drivers getting stage points out of the top 10. Adam Newton, Matt Cherry, Julian Tesoro, Steven Lashinsky. You mentioned maybe saving tires. Well, going to find out if he pits or not under this caution. And Philip Scott does make the pass on the 20 in all the chaos. He gets a stage point.
Yeah, right there at the end of the stage. Philip Scott able to get around Jason Freeman. But yeah, I think everyone's going to come down pit road. The big question is who's going to take tires on pit road. We only think they have about 35 laps or so of fuel on board these trucks. So, you know, we're over halfway through a fuel run. They're all going to come down, take fuel. But the question of tires, it was fairly clean, Andre, where maybe, you know, maybe we can race things out, green flag all the way to the end. But, you know, we almost saw that a couple of weeks back and ended up causing a lot of conundrum with a late race caution. So we'll see who puts their eggs in what basket here as Scott Crump leads the field down. And I feel for Scott Crump, Andre, because Scott Crump he's been playing the conservative strategy so far this season. It just hasn't worked out for the number 8 machine so far. Maybe tonight, maybe he's going to mix it up, but is he going to take tires? We're about to find out. It looks like he is, right sides up, and that crew will go to work.
And I'll tell you what, if he wants to win tonight, he's got to make sure these pit stops are on point. And unfortunately, he's going to lose a lot of time to the drivers that seem to have only taken 2 tires. And the reason I say he's got to have these pit stops on point is because clean air is king here at Texas. It is the most important thing in the entire race. Yes, it's important to stay off the apron. It's important to have spatial awareness. It's important to save tires. But the absolute biggest thing is going to be clean air. And if you lose that, you find yourself behind some other trucks. Suddenly, well, your car's not going to be handling too well. So Scott Crump going to have to try to navigate around Doug Neal and Adam Newton, who, again, I believe those drivers only took 2 tires, which that sure is a strategy, Peter. That's interesting.
It definitely is. There is Justin White. However, his strategy is get as much damage repaired as possible in the Grinds Coffee Pouches Chevrolet Silverado after he absolutely smacked that turn 2 wall. Now let's talk about that turn 2 wall. You can just see how flat the racetrack gets right there. I mean, look at that banking around where it says that Texas sign right there at the top side of the racetrack. And then where the camera is, you can tell it's pretty flat. And then from this camera, you can kind of see, yeah, it's still got some banking, but definitely not as much banking as there in the corner. And when that banking gives out from underneath your race truck, Andre, you lose all front grip. And if you hit it at the wrong angle, namely you're pushing up the racetrack, if you start to push up the racetrack, you aren't going to recover any grip. You're not going to find any grip on the top side of the racetrack because it's just flattening out that fast. So, unfortunately for the driver of the number 2 machine, that is quite a bit of damage. We do believe Fred Lester is going to get the lucky dog under this caution, however, so he's going to get one of his laps back, but currently being scored, I believe, 2 laps down in the number 48 machine, so he has a long night ahead of him. Going to need a couple lucky dogs to get back onto the lead lap. However, the iRacing Pace Truck Lights, you see him right there working his way into turn number 3. They continue to twinkle atop that iRacing Pace Truck that somewhat resembles a Chevrolet Silverado, but the field going to get set to go back racing. But Andre, I'm going to keep my eyes on those drivers who decided to save a set of tires. There are actually quite a few throughout the field. It'll be interesting to see how it all sorts out at the end of the night.
Yeah, and we're going to find out real quick as soon as the, let's say, Chavoda, the Chevette Chavoda base truck pulling off the track next time by, I believe, and these guys will be back under green, and the 77 and the 29 are going to be leading the way on that 2-tire strategy. I am genuinely curious how fast those trucks are going to be in comparison to the 4 tires, because it didn't seem like the tire wear was as bad as we were expecting. It seemed like the lap times, they fell off a little bit, as to be expected, but not quite as drastic. And the separation that we saw between the field as well just was not that much. These guys, they were pretty much bumper to bumper, flag to flag in that stage, and they tried their best to cause a caution here and there throughout that stage, but kept it green and made it to lap 20 successfully. So definitely going to be a little bit different here in stage 2, depending on how this strategy plays out. And Scott Crump probably trying to think, all right, I got 4 tires. How do I get around these guys as cleanly and quickly as possible? Because, like you mentioned, Peter, it has not worked out for Scott Crump a lot of times this year. He's qualified really well, had really fast trucks, just maybe not been on point with the strategy and just had some overall bad luck strike him at the worst of times. So we'll have to see if he can maybe keep that truck underneath him tonight. And the competition behind him, I think, is going to be more fierce than the first stage as well, because you got a lot of drivers who started a little bit further back, and now they've raced their way up front, and they're going to be competing for the lead. They're throwing their hat into the ring. And there goes the Toyota Chavoda down into pit road. 77 Doug Neal into the Geico restart zone. He's on the loud pedal. A little bit of wheel spin, but never hurt anybody. Well, it's actually hurt a lot of people, but he's able to keep it going. And it looks like he's going to get clear into the lead.
Yeah, good restart for the number 77 machine. Scott Crump already trying to make the most out of those 4 fresh tires. Here he goes around the number 29 of Adam Newton. Interestingly, Andre, it wasn't just Doug Neal and the 29 of Adam Newton. There were actually 2 other drivers to note, David Buell and Joshua Corner, who also used or played a little bit of tire strategy by trying to save a tire set till later in the show. So we'll see how it works out for those 2. So keep kind of those 2 names in your memory, Joshua Corner and David Buell. But with those 4 fresh tires, Scott Crump gets to the race lead here very quickly. Here comes Dominic Tesoro, though, Andre. We saw it looked like in that first run that clean air on the nose was important, and Dominic Tesoro is trying to get that clean air on his nose, but Crump going to shut the door coming out of turn 4.
And I tell you what, Scott Crump has got to be careful through these corners. The fastest line is going to be right against the apron, right on that painted white line. And if you are just half a lane up, well, drivers like Dominic Tesoro, they're going to put their nose in there. They're going to take that opportunity. They're going to get underneath you. And then once they get that side draft, that may be all she wrote. So you want to make sure that you defend that bottom line at all costs. And look at this. We got Philip Scott bobbing and weaving, trying to figure out which lane's moving. And it looks like the bottom is moving. The number 20 trying to make the move on Adam Newton. He's going to slot up, then immediately dive back down. Philip Scott says, hold on, I'm still here. Almost thought about 3 wide, but he's going to stay side by side with the number 29 until about halfway through the corner. Then he gets clear. We're back to single file racing for the most part. Well, I say that. And then the number 20, Freeman, trying to make a pass on the outside of the 77. And I know there's a tire difference here, but gotta say, you don't see a pass on the outside at Texas too often.
No, you could kind of make the outside work through. Oh, contact behind. I think that's Adam Newton going around, and sure enough, it is. The Budweiser Chevrolet going around in the grass on the inside of the racetrack comes up. That will be the second caution flag of the night. Good job to kind of hold the brakes, get that thing woed up. Well, let's see if we can see what sent Adam Newton around. I saw there briefly out of the corner of my eye just a little bit of no, he just got loose and then got a little bit of help from the 64 who had absolutely nowhere to go. Vincent Valvano just a little nudge, and that is what brings out the second caution flag of the night. Let's see if we can get one more look of what happened here, Andre.
And it was oh so close to staying green. I think when he slid back up towards the quad oval, and there were still cars going by, that is when the simulator decided, okay, that is a caution right there. As those cars go by, he's back on the apron. Luckily, not a whole lot of contact. So, Newton's tires are a little bit worse for wear, but I'll tell you what, that all started when he clipped the apron, Peter. We talked about it. You got to stay off that apron, and that is the prime example why.
Yeah, just unsettled his Chevy Silverado. Tried to get it pointed in the right direction there, but not quite able to. Going to lose a lot of track position, but I think he was one of those drivers who did save a set of tires, so might still work out to his advantage. Now he's going to have to do a little bit extra work. Fred Lester, however, he's very thankful to see this caution flag come out, because I do believe that number 48 should be getting the wave around past the iRacing.com pace truck here momentarily. Seems like he's having to stay in line at least for now, but it'll be good to see Fred Lester get himself back to be just one lap down after that early contact with Adam Dama. Dama, for your folks at home, still circling out there on the racetrack, but many, many laps down. I think on the order of 13 laps down as they run right now. So tough break for him, but Scott Crump up at the front of the field, 31 laps down, just under 100 laps to go. And Andre, let's see if maybe we can get a quick word from driver of the number 8 machine and see what he has to say about the way his night is going. Don't want to drag him in with a hot mic, but here we go. Scott Crump, Peter Short 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4.
Well, I'll tell you what, looks like clean air is rather important out there, but you got a challenge by Dominic Tesoro battling for that clean air on the nose of your race trucks. How's the truck driving here tonight?
It's driving pretty easy, so 3 and 4 is really easy. 1 and 2, you got to watch it, make sure you don't burn up your tires on 1 and 2, especially that right front. But other than that, it's really not too loose, not too tight. Feels pretty good.
Well, we saw the number 2 machine earlier in the show have problems right around the end of that first stage where he washed up into the turn 2 wall. How easy is it to do that? Tell the viewers back at home.
If you're really trying to push it, which I think he was, trying to get up to me for that stage win or whatever, I think he was pushing a little too hard and just slid up the track and knocked down the wall. It's pretty simple to do when you're in somebody's draft to do it. But clean air is a little bit easier not to.
Yeah, getting that extra downforce on the nose with the clean air can make all the difference sometime, especially here on these 1.5-mile racetracks when you're whipping around this joint at 160 to 180 miles an hour with these trucks. Well, Scott, good luck here rest of the race, and maybe we'll get to talk to you at the end of the show.
Yeah, hopefully it goes on green from here on out, so that's what we're rooting for. don't need a caution middle run, or probably won't win it if that happens.
All right. Well, Scott Crump has, already put his eggs in a basket by taking tires under that first pit stop. Didn't really see a whole lot of takers on pit road this time, Andre, but there were a couple drivers who came down pit road, pretty much 12th place on back. Philip Scott in 12th position, and all the folks behind him coming down, probably to just take a little bit extra fuel on board. Some driver, I think Steven Lashinsky actually might have taken tires as well. Same thing with Bryce Hunter. They got to be careful. I don't exactly know why they took tires. Maybe they forgot to uncheck their tires, but now you got drivers like Lashinsky and Bryce Hunter who have a set less tire.
Yeah, and Adam Newton, I believe he also took tires when he came down pit road. So he tried to save some. He tried to pull the strategy. Didn't quite work out, and now he's kind of back on the same playing field as everybody else. It could just be, Peter, that those drivers a little bit further back that came in for tires, well, they got a 10-lap advantage on their tires now, and maybe they think they can race their way to the front of the field, get that clean air, and maybe that clean air is going to be strong enough to make up for the fact that they're down a set of tires, which if what we've seen tonight so far is any indication, yeah, that clean air is pretty important. And I got to say, I might give up a set of tires if I meant driving up to it as well. But this is going to be a very interesting restart. We've got Crump on the outside. I believe he was the leader of the race, but he opted to take the outside, which I believe is actually the first time tonight that the leader has taken that lane. So we'll see how that works out for him. And then the Tesoro brothers have finally found each other on track. They're second and fourth right now, with Jeff Price being the middle of the Tesoro sandwich. Once again, I believe he was in that situation last week at Road America. But he is going to be at third place. And Doug Neal having a solid night so far. Knock on wood. Don't want to give him the commentator's curse. He's going to be restarting fifth. And here they come. Toyetti Shavoda pulling into pit road. And Barney's got the green flag at the ready. And they got to just pace a little bit further down to that Geico restart zone. And what can Crump do from that outside? Well, he can get a pretty good jump, but I tell you what, looks like Tesoro's going to stay side by side. This could be a battle. No, the 8 gets clear.
Yeah, good attempt, though, by Dominic Tesoro to stay mostly alongside with Scott Crump before they get turn number 1. And here comes Tesoro. He's got a good run to halfway down the backstretch. We're going to be side by side for the race lead. They're side by side back behind them as Julian Tesoro now starting to make some noise. He's up into the third position. He's gained 12 spots since the drop of the green flag, but it is his brother, Dominic Tesoro, who has taken the race lead, the first lead change of the night out there on the actual racetrack, not under pit sequence, as here comes Julian Tesoro trying to make it a Tesoro brother 1-2, and looks like he will take it away from Scott Crump. So move the number 8 back to third, and he'll be under fire from Jason Freeman. The Mason-Dixon Racing number 20 is hauling the mail down the backstretch with the Back Channel Productions number 14 of Jeff Price in tow. Price there hits the apron. Doesn't seem to unnerve his Chevy Silverado just yet, but now Scott Crump looking back underneath. Andre, this is some great racing up the front as we try and make it almost 3 wide before turn 1.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get trapped on the high side. That's what sent Crump to third place in the first place. We got another caution. Third caution of the night. I believe it was a little bit further back in the field, and Tesoro was 1 and 2. The Tesoro brothers were when that caution flew. The number 3 having a little bit of an issue. We'll see exactly what transpired here a little bit further back to trigger this third caution of the night. Pace car drivers getting a bit of a workout here at Texas. You don't normally expect this much action, but...
Well, I figured out what brought out the yellow, and I'm surprised it didn't register in my live timing and scoring here. Let's see if we can see right here is Jeff Price in the 64 machine of Vincent Valvano, who goes almost up and over. Let's see if we can maybe get another look of what happened to Vinny Valvano. Oh, that's not the right camera. There we go. Let's redo that one. And it doesn't go back far enough. Let's dial up the 3 wide TV replay maybe a little bit sooner. And sometimes our thing doesn't snap. Here we go, coming through the quad oval. Andre, we saw this as a problem spot earlier in the race. Valvano on the high side, the 2 of white on the inside. You see Valvano's trying to come down the racetrack, and looks like Valvano might have just come down a little bit too far. made contact with the number 2 of Justin White, who himself ends up making contact with the outside wall. Look at Jimbo Casterline just squeaking on through there, but unfortunately for the number 64, that is a heavy contact. Everyone else able to avoid him. Let's see, however, I kind of want to see if we can get an onboard, maybe with Jimbo, and see him kind of working his way through that madness. Let's see, here we go. On board with Jimbo Casterline. Andre, talk us through this and what he's going to see up in front.
Well, he's going to see a whole lot of chaos. When those two cars come together, they're just glued at that point. They go straight to that outside wall, and Jimbo's going to miss them by this much. I don't think you could have put a piece of paper between him and the flipping number 64, Vinny Valvano. There was some heads-up driving by the number 18 to keep it down low, and luckily he's going to live to drive another lap, but unfortunate for the number 2 and the 64. The right side of the number 2 is getting quite a workout tonight, and I think the team behind the wall is probably getting a little bit tired of beating out Dents, but that's Texas for you. Sometimes things go a little bit crazy, and our leader, Dominic Tesoro, he's just getting an up-close look at the brand-new Toyota Shavoda, trying to figure out exactly what the make of that thing is. But the number 2, Justin White, well, unfortunately back on pit road, and not the night he was hoping to have early on.
Yeah, same thing with Vincent Valvano in the number 64. Now, the big question, Andre, is if the number 64 works his way back out onto the racetrack, or the number 2, and they drop a little bit of debris to extend the caution, do you think they're going to park their truck at the start-finish line?
Well, luckily, I don't think iRacing lets you get out of the truck. Not quite yet. We haven't quite reached GTA levels of simulator where you can just climb out of the truck. But I would especially hope that Justin White wouldn't do that as the league admin. That might set a bad precedent.
Give us commentators something to talk about. So,
True.
Folks in the chat, let me know how my connection is doing here tonight. It seems like it's not been the most stable. I actually had an error with YouTube telling me I could not live stream before hitting the go live button. I refreshed it and it seemed to go away, but my connection to YouTube does not seem as strong as it usually is. So let me know if you're experiencing any issues. In the chat, we got TJ Buck, Joshua Smith, and Paul Bilson. Bilson saying his horrible luck strikes again, had to reset the entire PC. That's not fun, Paul. Hopefully you can get that squared away here relatively soon. Also, Paul rooting on his Stay Tuned Sports teammates, so hopefully that is okay. Yeah, it looks like every once in a while my connection just decides to kind of fade out. It just did it right there. It's showing it on my end. Let me know at home, are you guys seeing those connection issues? If so, maybe I can stop the stream, restart the stream. If you're in the chat right now, let me know. Maybe I can do it here quickly before we go back green. Actually, you know what? It's doing it more and more. So let me let's pause for a brief second. We'll be right back. Gonna kind of cut the stream and then reconnect and see if that helps things. 1 second, folks. All right, I think we're back. Hopefully, you didn't miss anything. We're still under caution, and nope. You know what? It might actually be worse than it was. This is not good. Let me try that again. Sometimes you just have to do these things a couple times. All right, folks, I think we are back. Well, hopefully it becomes a bit more stable as the green flag is now back in the air. The Tesoro brothers were up front. Now, we did have some takers on pit road, Andre, under this particular caution. Interestingly enough, Scott Crump was one of those drivers who came down pit road, did not take any tires, but did take fuel on the number 8 Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra. So he's buried way back in the pack, but we know he's got a fast hot rod.
Well, there could be a number of reasons for that. It could just be that he likes the way that truck feels, a little bit of extra fuel in the tank. The weight does have a pretty big handling effect. but also maybe just trying to save that set of tires. He sees the way this race is going. I'm no Larry Mack, but the trends of the race is that we've gotten a few cautions so far tonight, and I don't really expect those cautions to slow down at the end of the race by any means, given the fact that we really still have the majority of the field still out on track. So not much attrition. Things are still pretty crazy. And if we do get a late race caution, you've got a set of tires behind the wall and nobody else does, well, you got yourself a pretty decent little advantage, and that's the kind of ace up the sleeve that number 8 has been looking for all year long. So maybe given a little bit now to get some later, but we'll have to wait and see if it works out. Again, anytime you make a strategy call like that, it's always going to be a gamble, but hey, we are in the Lone Star State, and I know everybody makes the gambling jokes about Vegas, but Texas has its fair share as well. But look at this, Julian Tesoro on the outside trying to take the lead. We talked about how we have not seen that many passes at all tonight on the high side. Well, how about a pass for the lead on the high side on equal tires? I don't know how that 92 did it, but man, oh man, what a great move. He's going to pull the number 20 of Freeman in line as well. And it looks like Freeman is going to hug that outside. I believe you said Freeman was one of those drivers who took tires, Peter, but 51 right on the bumper. They're going to go 3 wide. Freeman to the lead. The 51 is going to try to follow him through. That's the difference on tires, folks.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it appears like I'm continuing to have connection issues, folks. Let me know how bad they are at home. They don't look terrible on my end, but they are probably a little bit annoying. I do apologize for that. Doesn't seem like something we can fix on the fly. Meanwhile, back behind them, side-by-side action right here as Julian Tesoro goes from first down to third, and already contact and poor contact. The number 19 going up the racetrack, Bryce Hunter. The 92 still trying to save it, and he gets down into his brother. And the Tesoro's going all over the racetrack, and my oh my, that was a messy one as caution flag waves again.
Well, the Tesoro brothers had a very scary moment, but a wise man once said, that'll buff out. Just a little bit of a ding to the door, and I think they're going to be all right. However, the number 19, who we're following along with, I can't say the same with him. He gave a little bit of a love tap to the 92, and he got a love tap. He gave some love. He got some in return. Unfortunately, the outside wall did the most loving to the rear end of that car, and he just got spun around, ton of damage to the tailgate. And the 92, man, he went for a wild ride. He had to save that thing 2 or 3 individual times. Just a little bit of a tap to his brother there, but again, it'll buff out, no major damage, and there's really not a whole lot of trucks left on track that are clean, so I can't imagine that's a big disadvantage. One more look at what happened to the 19. Looks like he just wasn't expecting the 92 to check up just a little bit, but when you got all these trucks together, bumper to bumper, that can happen. Dominic, I mean, he was doing everything he could. He was right down against that inside wall, which was usually the smart call to make, but we're going to ride on board with Lashinsky. And he got a front row view. He got the VIP tickets to this one. Parting the Red Seas, a little bit of contact, but overall, he's going to drive straight through. That was impressive, Peter.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more front end damage though, because he was the one that got into the back of Dominic Tesoro that sent him into the inside of the racetrack. So a couple of those drivers now going to be on pit road for repairs. Here's Dominic Tesoro on pit road. Let's see who else is on pit road getting damage repaired. Yep, there's Lashinsky in the number 9 machine as well. Jimbo Casterline, don't know if he got any damage. I'm seeing a little bit of damage on that truck. Maybe there was a little bit of contact further back. I did see. Let's actually go back on the replay. This is the same incident. I'm not sure if there was other issues further back in the... Oh, there was! Oh, my goodness!
Oh.
Yeah, a little bit of contact. Fred Lester getting into the back of the number 3 machine. Let's see if we can get one more look at that. Jason Shu was just trying to slow down. Here we go, on board with Jason Shu. He sees the spinning truck in front of him. He just decides to slow down to avoid it and then gets hit from behind with Fred Lester coming in hot. And unfortunately, Jason Shu, just trying to stay out of the way, gets involved in the madness kind of right at the back end. Not sure what happened to Jimbo or how Jimbo factored into all of that. Let's see if we can figure out Jimbo's situation in this mess. Here he is. He's
he should be a fair ways behind this incident.
Yeah,
He's coming down the back straightaway. He's all on his own.
Yeah,
It's going to happen.
all looking okay so far. He starts to slow down, and he's already got that left front damage. I'm not sure where he got that left front damage. I know there was a little bit of contact earlier in the race, but I almost feel like that left front damage is new from last time we checked in with the number 18 machine, but hopefully Jimbo can get that repaired. You see that left side damage on him right now, but we continue to pace here under the caution flag. Looks like maybe the connection has stabilized a little bit more. Not 100% sure. Hopefully it has. I'll keep an eye on it, and if we have to kind of stop it and restart it again, we will. But thank you all for watching here tonight on 3Wide TV. Tristan Maher saying the brake is on the left. Corey Silva saying I caused that because I tuned in. Corey, hopefully you're having a good night. Thanks for dropping on by, one of our 3Wide TV partners that we have. And Corey Silva, we started broadcasting when Corey was racing in the American Sim Racing Series a couple of years back, and he's become one of the 3Wide TV crew, helping out Carlos Acosta and company. So, Corey, great to see you in the chat. And Tristan Maher saying, rooting on Jason Freeman and Philip Scott for the win. Tristan, tough to not see you in the field here tonight. Tristan, why are you not in the field here tonight? Saying, I wish I could be there. I'm at a sleep study. Well, shouldn't you be getting to sleep there, Tristan? I mean, if they're studying how you sleep, and I think number one job is for you to get to sleep there, buddy. Find yourself a comfy pillow, and well, I don't know. Maybe we'll put him to sleep. Maybe that's why he tuned in, Andre. We're so boring. Tristan Maher gonna fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm at about 51, 52 hours without sleep. So, I mean, I'll take his place if he wants to race. If he wants to come up in the booth or get in the car, I'll take his place.
Well, we are getting set to go back to green flag racing right on lap number 50. Now, Andre, we had 20 laps rather for the first stage caution. Everything was fine, and now all of a sudden we have had multitudes of caution. We're now working caution number 4. As cautions have bred cautions here over the last 30 or so laps. We'll see if that trend continues here as the 51 of Matt Cherry gets us back to green flag racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Number 8 of Scott Crump has cycled his way back up to second as a multitude of drivers elected to come down pit road under that last caution. And we're now halfway down the backstretch, mostly single file, but Josh Smith on the inside of Jeff Price, the number 13 and the number 14 doing battle. Looks like the number 14 is going to get the better of it, at least for now, as he whips around the outside in the back channel production Chevrolet. Just looking for a little bit of damage on that number 14 because he was actually involved in that accident, Andre. He got into the back of Bryce Hunter that sent the number 19 spiraling up into the outside wall. If you are wondering about Bryce Hunter, still out there on the racetrack and actually making some passes as Bryce Hunter is in the 11th position. Meanwhile, back behind them, the number 99 of Philip Scott is duking it out with Josh Smith. Looks like he's going to take that spot. Now here comes Adam Newton, who's slowly creeping his way back up towards the front of the field here, Andre.
Yeah, Adam Newton, again, a little bit of a quiet night. He dropped back through the grid, and now he's trying to do the opposite. He's carving his way back up front, trying to work over the number 13. He's got the preferred line, but not quite going to complete the pass there. The 13 fends him off for another corner. Philip Scott right in front of them, trying to run that bottom lane, maybe reel in the trucks out front. And speaking of out front, Matt Cherry had about a 4 truck length lead on that restart. He got out to a pretty big advantage, but that advantage has all but dissipated as Scott Crump is now right on the tailgate of that 51, and he's got a little bit of breathing room back to third. Freeman in the number 20, he's about half a second behind, but I think give these guys a little bit of draft and a few more laps, they might close up. We've seen these cars come together and race real close so far tonight, and I wouldn't expect that to change any time soon. But again, name of the game here for the leader, just defend that bottom lane. You can pass up top. We've seen it a few times tonight now. And speaking of the devil, there's the number 55 trying to make something happen up top. But it's not easy. I think it's definitely easier to pass down low. So if you can just keep that lane to yourself, force him to run that non-preferred lane. That's what you're going to want to do. And look at the 55. He's going to jump down to the bottom. I think he might actually swipe the tailgate of the 14. Somehow they're going to keep it going in the right direction. They're going to remain side by side at the line. Who's got it? The 55 by a nose. And they're going to side draft each other, battling for this position. But unfortunately, the 14... I was going to say the 14's got to concede the position, but no. A little bit of a wiggle out of the 55 puts Jeff Price back in the game. Actually, he's going to get clear of the 55, so 55's got to regroup, try it again, but man, oh man, just that little wiggle cost him a ton of time. Looking back towards Philip Scott and Adam Newton, these drivers have been battling with that number 13 machine for the last few laps, and I'll tell you what, the 13 has played some really good defense. He's not letting these guys by easy. Philip Scott able to finally take the position. Can Newton get it down on the bottom? Yeah, he's going to have the advantage, but I think the run is going to go to the 13 coming out of the corner, taking that longer way around, and he is going to have the advantage here. And this battling is allowing Philip Scott to kind of scoot away there from Smith and Newton. But Philip Scott got a ways to go up the road. Meanwhile, the 29 takes the position. So tick one more off the scorecard there, Peter, for the number 29. See if you can't get a few more in this run. But one thing I'm thinking about here, Peter, we have not really seen green flag pit stops yet, as we had the stage at lap 20, and we've had a handful of cautions since then. We've not stayed green long enough for these guys to come down pit road. I got to wonder if this is the run. We're starting to get a little bit of separation now. Is this the run?
Well, I'm also thinking that for some drivers, we're going to see them on pit road sooner than others. The number 51 of Matt Cherry, he last pitted on lap number 38. That is good 20 laps ago or so. He's probably only got maybe, because we've had a couple of cautions in here, maybe 20 or so laps of fuel still left in the tank. Meanwhile, Scott Crump pitted around the same lap, actually. In fact, one lap later by my lifetime in scoring. So it seems like drivers like Jeff Price have a little bit more fuel in their tank. Jason Freeman pitted on lap number 22, so we expect Jason Freeman to need to come down pit road here very shortly. So I'm not 100% sure here, Andre. Very interesting to see differences in fuel strategy that we're seeing out here, and when these drivers have to next come down pit road.
And that, that's going to happen when you have so many yellow flags. Everybody has a different idea of, do I need to come down pit road? Should I take this set of tires? And you just get a ton of separation. You got drivers that have been out there for 40-plus laps. You got drivers that have been out there for 10 laps. And it's just going to be the name of the game. So we'll have to see how this pit cycle really works out for some of these guys. I think, really, if you're Matt Cherry, Scott Crump, one of these drivers up front that's kind of been pitting right along, and you're not really hurting on fuel, not really hurting on tires, I think you've got an advantage over drivers like Freeman, who, like you said, last pitted on 22, I believe you said. But you never know. With the way this race has gone, I tell you what, Peter, I would almost be afraid to be the first one down pit road and put myself a lap down, because if a caution comes out, you get trapped down there, that is not going to be good for your night, that's for sure.
Yeah, you do not want to end up a lap down here and then not get that caution flag, although we have seen 4 here in the opening half, as we now have worked our way to the back half of tonight's 301-kilometer event, as you're looking at Jason Freeman and Brandon King duking it out with Jeff Price. Price all the way up to the top side of the racetrack. That will move Price back to 5th, move Brandon King up into 4th. Our biggest mover of the race has gained 17 spots since the drop of the green flag. Very impressive out of the number 55 Toyota Tundra that you see right there, but he's cycling about 2.25 seconds behind our race leader, still Matt Cherry, up at the front of the field, but it's really tight between those front two. That's why we're focusing on them. But this is a good little gaggle of drivers led by Jason Freeman. Now you're starting to see, I think, Doug Neal start to poke out in his Simbox number 77, our outside pole sitter here tonight. Getting maybe a piece of that apron through turn number 3 and 4. And Andre, we highlighted this a week or two ago. Why are you clipping the apron? You're not supposed to clip the apron. well, it can be very tough to see when you're following a truck as close as you are and keeping your eyes on that white line. And there, the number 13 was maybe a half lane up. That allowed Doug Neal to really see where that white line is. And luckily, I think he's going to kind of get it. There you go. It's just completely obscured there for a second. So if you're following the number 13 nice and tightly, and number 13 is hugging that white line very snugly, you just don't have a lot of visibility, and it can lead to accidents, and we've already seen some issues with that inside line here tonight. But nonetheless, good battle here as, Jeff Price almost catching the wall. That's going to open up the door for Brandon King to get that 4th spot back. And like Jeff Price is really struggling here as he's going to lose a couple of spots back behind Adam Newton now. And he might still be struggling here in the number 14.
It is so tough when you get shuffled out of line. You got cars all around you trying to find your rhythm again. I think Jeff just got a little bit shook there, a little bit out of his rhythm, but I'm sure he'll get back into it. Other thing I want to mention about that inside line and why these guys are clipping the apron, one of the things you might have noticed when we rode on board as well, the white line at this track doesn't really denominate where the apron begins. There's like another foot of pavement that is at an angle beneath that white line. So you can actually put 2 tires beneath the white line and still be on the racing surface, and the truck still behaves as you would expect. So some of these guys might just be getting a little bit greedy. They put that splitter past that white line, they feel comfortable, and then they go another inch or two, and suddenly things are no longer going splendid as, oh my goodness, we got one of the Simbox machines, Doug Neal. What a move that was. He was drifting down the straightaway, somehow passed 2 cars out of that. I don't know how you drift down a straightaway and make 2 passes, but leave it to Doug Neal in that Simbox 77. He found a way. Now he's got about 4/10 up the road to Adam Newton, who, by the way, has crept into the top 5 following Philip Scott. So Newton, maybe not as quiet of a night as he normally has. He has been making some waves with these passes, and now I don't think he's content to ride behind the 99. He's going to do a little bit of side drafting, dive down to that preferred bottom lane. He's got Doug Neal behind him, giving him a little bit of draft support, maybe some moral support. You never know. 29 just barely going to clip the grass through the quad oval, trying his best. Keep that advantage over the 99, force him to use that high line, stick to the bottom, and he should be able to make this pass. But a little bit of a checkup is going to cause the 77 to get loose. I tell you what, Peter, I would have thought turns 1 and 2 would have been a little bit easier as the night progressed and the track temp went down. But I don't know. Looks like the middle of the corner is actually getting a little bit looser for these guys, because he's not the only driver I've seen have to lift just a little bit through 1 and 2. 3 and 4, you can see he slid up the track just a little bit, but didn't lose a whole lot of time. I don't know. It just seems like Texas is proven to be a bit of a handful here, even with the cool temps.
Yeah, especially as these tires start to wear on. I think we're probably on the oldest tires that they have experienced all night long. Up at the front of the field, Matt Cherry still continuing to lead the race by just over 1/10 of a second, lockstep with is Scott Crump behind the rear tailgate of the 51. But meanwhile, Philip Scott was able to hold off an attack by Doug Neal. Going to have a look back underneath the number 29, trying to open that door, not able to do so. He's going to wash up the racetrack, got that dirty air off the back of the Budweiser Chevrolet, and that's going to allow Doug Neal, who was running right down there on the bottom of the racetrack, got some clean air on the nose. You can see that he was able to use that to his advantage, get the power down the back stretch, get level with the number 99, and a good pass here. Doug Neal, I thought he was going to clear him there off of turn number 4. Maybe he'll clear him here through the quad oval. It's mighty tight as they get to turn number 1 and 2, and sure enough, does look like Doug Neal able to make the pass on Philip Scott. So move the 77 up to 5th as the 55 of Brandon King. Look, he was flirting with the turn 2 wall there just a little bit in front of these two, as he's about 4 seconds behind Matt Cherry at this stage of the race. Something's happened with Jimbo.
Oh boy.
The back of the pack. Let's see if we can figure out. Here we go on the 3-wide TV replay. Maybe just got loose up off the corner, or did he might have thought about coming down pit road there, Andre. It's got himself all wrong on the entry into the quad oval, and through the grass he went. And Knight goes from kind of bad to worse. He's unfortunately had that great qualifying run, and it's just not worked out for him. Meanwhile, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. Back live. As we got a battle for the race lead, as looks like Scott Crump looking to the outside out of turn number 2. He's got the power down, and I got to say, Andre, the best place to make a pass on the outside line is through turn number 3 and 4, because you can keep the power down and use the momentum of the race truck and try and pinch down the truck on the inside, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it just yet as they get close through the quad oval, completing lap number 75. 75 laps down, 50 laps to go here in this one. Still Scott Crump trying to stay on the rear quarter panel, not able to do so, but can he cut underneath him? He can. Here comes Crump for the race lead.
And it is going to be a crossover move. He's got that preferred bottom lane, but you got to think these guys have been on track for a while. Those tires are hurting, and I don't know how they kept that bodywork off of each other. That was extremely close, and they're going to do it again through the quad oval. The 51 trying to pinch the number 8. The 8 is having none of it. He's going to shove him a little bit wide going into the corner, try to get down to that white line. Problem with shoving somebody wide is that you got to make sure you complete the pass. Don't give them a chance to do anything back. Well, didn't quite complete the pass. They're going to stay side by side, and I think the 51 is going to do what he was doing all along. He's going to try to pinch that number 8, and there he goes down the track trying to keep the number 8 as close to that white line as possible. Don't leave him any room to build up any momentum. And for the second consecutive lap, they're going to stay side by side. The 51 doing a little bit of side draft and almost loses the advantage. The 8 nearly gets clear, and he is clear through the middle of the corner. But can the 51 get a run out of 2? Maybe not. It is finally going to sort out that the 51 of Matt Cherry is going to be P2. Scott Crump, for the first time in a little while, is going to be back up to the lead. And pit sequence is, well, I would say it's officially underway. It's been underway. As Tristan Maher said in chat, Freeman has the massive undercut. He came down pit road about 10 laps ago or so. So he was technically the first, but look at this. The 51 says, okay, lost the lead, got put in dirty air. We're just going to come down pit road. We're going to get fresh tires. We're going to see what we can do with that. Hopefully cycle out with nobody out front, and that'll be the strategy. And hey, we haven't checked in on these guys in a while. There's the Tesoro brothers currently running 7 and 8. A little bit of damage to that 69 from the incident earlier. Possibly a little bit of damage to the 92. But overall, those trucks are still looking pretty clean, Peter. But just haven't really had the pace ever since that incident. And there goes our leader down pit road. And that is going to hand the lead for the moment over to Doug Neal in the 77. Adam Newton inherits P2, and David Buell is going to inherit 3rd on the podium. But I think this is going to force a lot of drivers' hands, Peter. I think when the 2 leaders that were kind of driving away from everybody comes down pit road, that's like ringing the dinner bell. Everybody's got to come down.
Yeah, and from this point, you can make it on just one more stop as well. I don't think you can make it all of the way from here. I think just one more stop will be what it will take. I'm just looking to see, well, you know what? Doug Neal has been out there now for 33 laps. There's still 45 laps to go. So, yeah, I think you're going to have to make one more stop. I think we were seeing about 34, 35 laps at the Atlanta Motor Speedway when we got some green flag pit stops. So Doug Neal continues to lap. However, here at speed, as behind him, Adam Newton getting a little bit of flack from lapped car, the number 20 going on by. That's Jason Freeman. We highlighted that he, with the massive undercut, he's going to probably cycle on through to the race lead when this pit cycle is all said and done. But for right now, he's on much older tires than Scott Crump. There is Crump. Now, here's an interesting statistic, Andre. Scott Crump has a 3-second advantage over that driver right there, Matt Cherry. So even though Scott Crump did the overcut, he was also 3 seconds faster getting to pit road. Very, 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 very impressive out of Scott Crump to get that extra lap in, have fresher tires, and then have a huge advantage over the number 51 machine, who now has to put up with some slower traffic on older tires, being the Tesoro brothers. So I'm sure that the number 8 machine is probably very, very happy where he is. Just got to let this cycle play out. Don't want to see a caution flag just yet, put it that way. But we might see the caution flag right here as we're talking 3 wide down the backstretch.
In the 55, a King is going to try to make it happen 3 wide right underneath the 51, and it looks like those tires will prevail. He's going to make that move, and here comes one of our drivers down pit road. Can't quite make out the paint scheme. Couldn't quite make that out, but I also want to point out, as far as Freeman goes, I'm not sure he can make it on fuel, Peter. I think he may have to come down pit road again, and he's one of very few drivers that does.
I think he might be the only driver that might have to make 2 stops from here on out. Dominic Tesoro, Bryce Hunter, and Julian Tesoro are all on pit road together. Here comes Doug Neal, Jeff Price coming down pit road to their iRacing.com pit crews. You see Julian Tesoro leaving there at the bottom of the screen. Not seeing anyone with any penalties on pit road. That's good news, because Andre, back at the Atlanta Motor Speedway a couple of races ago, we saw numerous penalties with pit road speeding under the green flag pit stops that we saw there. It looks like these drivers have been practicing as David Buell peels off the racetrack. Ooh, look at Adam Newton going around the outside to technically take the provisional race lead away. Looks like he will likely lead this lap, but that's an interesting way to take the race lead. Andre is coming down pit road and kind of letting it all hang out.
Definitely got a pretty good entry there. Saved himself some time, but look at who's not saving time. Philip Scott is going to overshoot the pit stall just a little bit, has to throw her in reverse. I think he was trying to pull a little bit of strategy there, coming in with the Simbox Motorsports drivers of Doug Neal and Buell and Newton there, but unfortunately just going to overshoot the stall, cost himself a few precious seconds, and currently in the race lead, our only holdout so far, I would say, as far as pit road goes, John Flamion, filet mignon, is going to come down pit road finally here on lap 87. So he'll have the freshest tires when this race is said and done, with the exception of Freeman, who's likely coming down pit road again if he has a set of tires. No reason not to take him at that point, but that is going to hand the lead back to Scott Crump in the number 8. He's going to cycle back out. You mentioned what a great pit stop he had. Not only did he come in a lap sooner than the competition, but he had a faster entry and exit, so he's got about 1.6 seconds over Freeman, who came in so long ago, made up some time on those fresher tires. Then you've got King, Smith, Cherry. These drivers came down pit road a little while ago, and they're a few seconds back. So this pit sequence has given us a ton of separation now, Peter. And the question is, does the tire wear equalize? Because we saw these guys come down pit road spread so far out. I mean, we're looking at 6-7 lap difference in tire wear for some of these drivers.
I don't think they're going to equalize that much. I think the only time you see tires equalize is maybe in that last quarter of a fuel run, but we don't run 100% fuel. We only run 75% fuel, so I don't even think you get to that last quarter of a fuel run where tires would really start to kind of get to that equalization standpoint. But that does not work out in the favor of this driver right here, Jason Freeman, who's now about 3 seconds behind Scott Crump. Crump has been shot out like a cannon. I don't know what's happening right now with Matt Cherry. I really don't. But I've been kind of keeping my eyes on his lap times here. The only thing I could think of, Andre, is maybe he's short on fuel. Because that's not helping as he hits the wall off of turn number 4. Maybe that truck's not driving right anymore. I don't know, but at the bottom of the screen you can see that Cherry has been bleeding over a second a lap to Scott Crump for the last 5 laps or so, and we'll see if we can actually increase that to the last 7 laps. Let's see, does that graphic even work? It doesn't. Looks like it's stuck at 5 laps. But, oh no, Cherry's coming down pit road here. Something must have happened with Matt Cherry. I don't know what it is, but he had a shot here tonight, folks. And he is going to give that away, at least it looks like it for now. Might need some lucky cautions as he will go one lap down to that driver right there. Now up to a 5-second lead over Jason Freeman. And Brandon King, we haven't talked much about the number 55, but I want to go back, Andre, to that big accident where we saw the two Tesoro brothers involved in turns number 3 and 4. But Brandon King was coming up on that accident, and he kind of swerved, did a late swerve to avoid the Tesoro brothers when they were kind of bouncing off one another. And I think he, in doing so, made a fantastic move to avoid getting into the side door of Dominic Tesoro, who was spinning back up the racetrack. So that could have been the move that gave Brandon King this opportunity, and he currently sits on the podium with, we know, Jason Freeman having to come down, at least we believe, to make a final pit stop.
And I'll tell you what, if this thing stays green, he's got a good chance of finishing on the podium. I mean, look at that gap back to 4th place. He's got a good 6 seconds over him.
Yeah, for sure. There is the number 13 machine that you mentioned, currently riding in 4th, 13.47 seconds behind Scott Crump, as Crump is laying it on him here. It's been relatively tied up at the front of the field, Andre. So kind of like what we saw last week on the road courses, Jeff Price is elected to come down pit road here. Interesting to see the number 14 come down with 30 laps to go. This is, we believe this is the window. And maybe the 51, maybe, just maybe the 51 machine of Matt Cherry came in right at the beginning of the window, but it just definitely seems a little bit off schedule for the 51 to come in so early. But Jeff Price might be the first of the takers to make it to the rest of the way. We know he's good to the end of the race here from this point forward, and we do expect to see Scott Crump come down. But going back to my point, just like what we saw last week, Andre, where we had this really close battle up at the front of the field for the first half of the race at Road America, and then all of a sudden, the back end of the race, the gaps really grew all of a sudden. It was due to drivers making errors and mistakes, and we're kind of seeing the same thing here tonight at Texas.
Yeah, a little bit of separation at the end, very reminiscent of Road America, but there is a bit of action on the track. King just took 2nd place from Freeman. He made that move in about a corner and a half. Didn't really take him a whole lot of effort, it didn't seem, as that 20 is on very old tires compared to King, so he should be able to drive away for the moment until King's got to come down pit road if he does. That 55, he has played the strategy cards all right tonight. We'll see if that culminates in a podium, and Crump out front 8 seconds the advantage. That is a comfortable lead. He can just at this point take it easy, don't overthink it, just hit your marks at that point. We'll have to wait and see exactly how this race goes. I mean, it could stay green all the way now that we're seeing separation. I'd say green flag racing is a lot more likely than when we were having those cautions breed cautions and everybody was really close to one another. But I don't know. I'm going to knock on wood. Don't want to give it the commentator's curse, as Freeman is trying not to give up 2nd place, but he's just dropping back 7/10. In this battle right here, the 21 and the 9 of Leshinsky, that's the battle for the top 10. Both these drivers 1 lap down. David Buell currently the lucky dog provisional, were a caution to come out. But it looks like that 21, Peter, just a little bit harsh on the tires. He's starting to drop back a ways.
Yeah, I was keeping my eye on that battle. Of course, it was for the 10th position as well, which is kind of where you want to be. You want to finish in the top half of the field, and inside the top 10 is a good night. So keep our eyes on whether that gap between Leshinsky and Joshua Corner starts to decrease. We got this battle, however, up the road from them, Philip Scott in 7th, and behind him, Dominic Tesoro in 8th. Hasn't been the night that the number 99 was hoping. Of course, being wrecked out of the Sebring 12 hours earlier in the night, then jumped over here. Just did not get enough practice time, I don't think, in that Ford F-150, but doing a good job keeping all 4 corners clean. If you can keep 4 corners of your truck clean, you're in with a shot here at Texas Motor Speedway. Meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, look at this. We got a driver on pit road, and that is Scott Crump. So Crump coming down to make his final pit stop, and this tells me that Jason Freeman should be good to go, Andre. That's the good news for Jason Freeman, that he should be able to kind of see out the same pit cycle. Brandon King on pit road. Josh Smith also coming to his pit box right there in front of Brandon King. Left side's going on the number 55. He should be dropping that jack, and he is down and away. Not seeing any pit road speeding violations either. That's also good news, as Jason Freeman continues to whip his way around the racetrack as our race leader. 23 laps to go.
Yeah, we really thought that it was just going to be Freeman who had to make another stop. We kind of thought everybody else was going to be good, but now that everybody else has made their way down pit road and proven that they had to make one more stop to get to that checkered flag, well, suddenly Tristan Maher saying that Freeman just took a massive undercut. That's not a joke. That's quite literally what he did, and it's actually working out pretty well. He's going to come down pit road, and I think he should cycle out inside the top 5. So we were over here thinking that he's playing checkers, but really, he just broke out that multi-dimensional 4D chessboard, and he might get a top 5 out of this.
4D chess in the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. We've seen that many times here on the channel. These drivers know how to get the job done. 22 laps to go. Adam Newton has cycled his way to the race lead with the number 20 coming down pit road, but Doug Neal actually wants a taste of the lead as they are duking things out here at the front of the field. And the number 51 machine, I'm just checking on the number 51 machine, Matt Cherry, he is still out there on the racetrack, right behind Jason Freeman, actually. So still not sure what happened to Matt Cherry, or whether or not he maybe didn't take tires. I think he did. It looked like he took tires based off his pit stop time that I was seeing. Not sure what would have caused him to be so far off of the pace, however. But nonetheless, Doug Neal is our race leader now, and he continues to cycle on around the racetrack, Andre. This is when, if you're the number 8 machine of Scott Crump, you do not want to see a caution flag at all.
You absolutely don't.
I think Crump is out of tires now, so if a caution flag were to come out right now, Doug Neal, of course, would be able to come down, get the fresh tires on, and that would give him an advantage as the lap continues to click away. Just looking at my kind of on my end at the math, it's been about 21 laps since Doug Neal was last on pit road. Doug Neal can take this about another 10 laps or so out front, if not a bit more. So there is an opportunity for Doug Neal to get a lucky caution. The bad news is Scott Crump is about 10 seconds behind him, and Crump is lapping not quite a full second faster. But Crump is definitely lapping faster than the number 77 machine. So I think Doug Neal will probably be able to stay maybe barely as the race leader before he has to come down and pit. But like I said, if a caution flag comes out, I think it would be really big advantage to the number 77. But we'll just have to wait and find out whether or not the bad luck cautions continue to plague this driver right here, or maybe, just maybe, we'll see Scott Crump in victory lane for the first time this season.
Definitely has been his night so far. He's been class of the field, and strategy has worked out thus far, but with 17 to go, you never know, things could change. And, pondering the Matt Cherry situation, and mind you, I am about 50 some odd hours sleep deprived, so maybe it's a little bit of a crazy theory, but thinking about it, Peter, I gotta wonder if he didn't think what we thought, in that everybody else is gonna be good, and he saw he was short on fuel, he was gonna have to come down, so he started saving. That's why he was lapping about 1.4, 1.5 seconds a lap slower. He was desperately trying to just squeeze that fuel mileage out, and eventually he just realized, I'm giving up all this time, and there's still no way I'm gonna make it. So he came down pit road, and by then he had just given up a ton of time. That's really the only thing I can think of, because looking at the pit times, it looked like he did take tires when he pitted initially there, so I don't think that was the thing, and the car didn't look too damaged. So I don't know, but there's the number 20 of Freeman so far running P9. Now Crump, who is the provisional leader once everybody else pits, is running 4th. So that would put Freeman, right about P6. So not bad for the driver that we thought was going to have a huge disadvantage. But look at this, Lashinsky in the number 9. He gets a little bit squirrely, gives a little bit of love to that outside wall. He's just calibrating it, figuring out exactly where it needs to be. But unfortunately, that's going to slow him down a little bit. And Buell in the 52, he's going to try to take that 6th position away, all the way down beneath that 3rd lane, trying to make sure he gets clear, and he will. Taking a bit of a shallow entry into 3 and 4. Truck's going to want to drift up a little bit, but as long as he takes his foot off the loud pedal just a little bit more than usual, he should be all right. And there goes the number 13 around the number 3. Again, that number 3 is probably significantly damaged, Peter. We've seen him take a bit of a hit earlier, although, I don't know. I think the number 3 team did a good job beating those dents out, because it's looking pretty clean to me.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to the other driver in that battle, the number 13 machine, because for a while there, it looked like Josh Smith had a shot at a top 5. He was running 4th. Not sure if he had a pit road mishap or something. But currently trying to work his way up towards the front late here is... Oh, I thought that was going to be contact there between Price and Flamian as they went off into turn number 3. Luckily, they stay off of one another as Flamian drops back to 12th. Here comes here comes Matt Cherry to pick up a position, as that number 38 is on some of the oldest tires still out there on the racetrack. Here is Scott Crump. He has been marching his way towards the front of the field on the fresher tires. Doug Neal still a holdout, but as you can see, Crump is only about 3 seconds back. We know Neal still has to make a final pit stop here tonight. At least we believe Doug Neal has to make a final pit stop, unless he has some absolute heroics in the fuel-saving department. But Crump is still closing in on him about a half a second per lap. So either way, Scott Crump will get to the front. We think Neal will probably have to pit in the next 4 or 5 laps. Just about holding on to the lead, we think, before he absolutely has to come down pit road, but only time will tell. Meanwhile, Matt Cherry just got passed by the number 13, so Josh Smith moving on up. There goes the number 19 down onto pit road, Bryce Hunter. And Andre, for how hard Bryce Hunter impacted the wall earlier in the race, I'm surprised there's been so much speed left in the Napa Chevy Silverado. But Hunter here looks like he's probably going to have about a 16th or 17th place finish as he comes to his pit group.
Yeah, I mean, with the hit he took, you can't really complain about a 16th, as he just barely overshoots the pit stall. Sometimes the iRacing gods giveth, and sometimes they taketh. And for him, I think they gaveth a little bit. They were giving him a little bit of leeway with that damage model, able to keep some speed under the hood of that 19, which is always a relief. I think everybody on iRacing has had that moment. You get into an accident, you know the truck is damaged, but you're not sure how bad, so you sail it into the corner, you hope that it's going to stick, you try to feel it out, like, is it okay? It kind of feels okay, and luckily for the 19 it was, but a little bit of a battle going on here. Matt Cherry and Jeff Price, these two going at it through 3 and 4, headed towards the quad oval. Looks like Jeff Price trying to get a little bit of a draft here, and they're going to go too wide in front of him. I believe that is Julian Tesoro right in front of Smith in the 13. I gotta tell you, I've been impressed with Smith tonight. He is, he's not really been up on the podium so far tonight, but he's been inside the top 10, and it seems like he's just been getting better and better all night. He's figuring this track out. Not a bad points day so far for that 13 of Smith. Lashinsky a little bit loose on the apron. That's going to bottleneck these guys, open up the door for Price and Cherry behind him to try to close that gap a bit. 13 finally gets clear of that 9. I think the 9 getting on that apron just forced him to lift a little bit, so they're going to go single file and be a little bit safer, which is exactly what Scott Crump wants. He wants this to stay green, because even though he's about to take the lead back on merit, if the caution comes out and Doug Neal takes tires, well, that could be all she wrote. So he wants these guys to get single file, calm down a little bit. These guys obviously in communication with each other. If I'm the number 8, I'm getting on the driver radio. I'm saying, all right, guys, keep it cool, keep it calm. But, it's kind of the way things go. Doug Neal finally conceding the lead on those older tires. You said he had to pit, Peter, but is he going to go all the way?
I don't know. I mean, if he does have to pit, he's going to stay out there now for as long as he absolutely can in the hope of catching a caution coming to 5 laps to go. It would be, like I said, mighty heroics. It would be 40 to 41 laps on fuel, which I just don't see that happening, honestly. But he might be backing it down. He might be trying to save some fuel as well going off into these corners to try and extend that fuel mileage just a little bit. Let's see if he whips on by the pit lane this time. Indeed he does. Coming to 4 laps to go now. I mean, he started second. If he can just keep enough fuel in the tank, he could finish second, right where he started at the top of the show. And, Andre, you and I, we've been... he might be out of fuel. He might be out of fuel. That 77 appears off the pace coming down the backstretch. Or maybe he just realized, I have to save a lot. I have to save a lot more than he thought. But let's see if he makes a hard left turn down onto pit road this time. No, he doesn't. He stays out. Andre, he's just saving. He realizes he's got a 7 or so second gap back to Adam Newton. There's no point running that truck hard at this point. Give up those 7 seconds. Run it lightly, because if you need to, you might need that extra fuel before the checkered flag falls.
Tell you what, if he makes it, he deserves a trophy in and of itself. Maybe not for winning the race, but for definitely being the best at conserving, because I would have thought for certain he would have had to pit. But no, with 2 to go, the 77 has to give way. Oh, so close to making that strategy work out, but that truck was spitting and sputtering, so he's coming down pit road, giving up a lot of positions, unfortunately. But with 2 to go, Scott Crump has a 13-second lead over Philip Scott, but Philip Scott's not really worried about running down the leader. He's worried about keeping P2, because Adam Newton, that's right, the number 29, he's getting down to the inside, doing a little bit of side drafting, maybe a little bit of slingshot action if he can, trying to take that second place away. And behind him, it's Freeman in the number 20, so it is a 3-way battle for second. Freeman, we counted him down and out earlier, but he has proven us wrong right here in the battle for a podium on the white flag lap. Looks like Newton's going to get to the inside. The 99 opened the door just a little bit. That's going to be enough. And Newton's going to get his nose underneath. They're going to be side by side down the back straightaway. Now, who does the 20 go with? He can give a little bit of draft help either way, or maybe he just tries to go 3 wide. Scott Crump is going to win the race here at Texas. And behind him, the battle for second continues. The 29 just barely going to sneak in front of the number 20. And Freeman gets a podium, Peter, after everything he'd been through. Comes back for a 3rd place finish. Philip Scott P4. And Smith is, I think, almost guaranteed to finish 5th. So what a good points night for Smith in that 13. David Buell in the 52 finishes 6th. And man, oh man, not even seeing the 77 inside the top 10 after that late race pit stop. But Scott Crump, finally, Peter, he's going to victory lane.
Yeah, first time this season. I think that today was, if I recall, his 5th pole of the season. And if I did my math right, because tonight, and I take that back, 4th pole of the season. First win. And did a stellar job running away with it in the end, 13.5 seconds. Maybe Matt Cherry could have put up a little bit more of a fight. Not sure if he caught the wall somewhere out there on the racetrack, maybe damaged his race truck. But Cherry versus Crump, it was for a while. But unfortunately for Cherry, he's going to finish in 7th here tonight. But Scott Crump burning it down here on the front stretch, showing him how it's done for all the fans here on 3 Wide TV. And Andre, I think finally he had a race go the way he had hoped it.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. He's been so fast all year, fast in qualifying, fast in practice, fast at the beginning stages of the race, and then things just seem to fall apart, and, never really of his own doing, just a lot of bad luck. But finally, I think that bad luck streak is broken, and that number 8 truck is in victory lane. That's going to be a scary thing for the rest of the field, given that much momentum to the number 8, because I think all he needed was that win to turn things around, and he is still celebrating. You can tell he's pretty happy about this one.
Yeah, finally, when you get that breakthrough, Andre, after being fast week in, week out, I'll tell you what, it's something that you want, and for sure that number 8 is Scott Crump. Looks like one happy driver. There we go. Line it up a little bit there, Buttercup. That number 8 machine, parking it on the start-finish line, and not in the same manner as Josh Williams, but nonetheless, parking it for all the fans to see. That's a pretty good look right there on 3 Wide TV. Let's see, though, if we can start to get some of those post-race interviews for you here tonight, folks. And let's see if we can start with driver of the number 20 machine, Andre Grambush. Why don't you catch up with Jason Freeman?
Mr. Freeman, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Jason, you ran a pretty phenomenal race. Peter and I, we were a little bit turned around on the fuel mileage. We weren't sure if you were going to be the only one that had to make that final stop with about 20 to go. But then we saw the rest of the field come down pit road, and we knew at that moment you were back in the game. You got that undercut on everybody, and it worked out. You came home on the podium. Tell me a little bit about your night.
Well, actually, I didn't even plan on racing tonight. I have to run a big cornhole regional tournament tomorrow with about 150 people. So I said I was going to come on here, run to the first stage and stop. And then that first stage I just ran hard, and I felt like I was reeling those guys back in the end of the run. So I was like, I'll run a little bit more, and decided just to stick around and see what happened.
Well, I definitely got a good points day out of it, especially when you didn't even plan on running the full thing. But tell you what, that 20 looked pretty good. I think the hot ticket tonight was just keeping the truck clean. We saw a lot of drivers have a lot of trouble with that outside wall and even some trouble with each other. But that number 20 still looking pretty shiny at the end of the night. How were you keeping that thing clean?
Yeah, I was just trying to take it easy. I only had about 10 minutes of practice, and I'm not very good at this place. I feel like I run it almost like the old Texas. I feel like I pinch it off getting in, and I'm terrible through 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 is just kind of flat out. So everyone's about the same down there. So just happy to be up here on the podium. Anytime talking to you guys is good.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you off the hook there, Jason, is there any shout outs you'd like to make for your podium finish?
Yeah, like Total Nonstop Racing guys. Garrett Gleason, Tristan wasn't here tonight. Tristan Meyer, Philip Scott, Jason Shue, Vinny Valvana. It's my teammates there, and you guys up in the booth, 3Wide TV, Justin White, NSRA for putting this on, and it's just the stuff in my truck. Well, Johnny Williams painted my truck up and fixed it up there, so check him out for some of your paint schemes, and then check out Mason Dixon Cornhole on Facebook. Follow that. That's my little side gig, and that's what I'll be doing all day tomorrow.
All right. Well, we wish you luck with that endeavor there tomorrow, Jason, and hopefully it goes as well as tonight did.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right. Third place out of the booth, and now I believe Peter's catching up with second place.
Yeah, I am down here with driver of the number 29 machine. We said keep your eye on him. We said that he might end up with a podium. And sure enough, at the end of the night, Adam Newton and the number 29 truck. What a great run, Adam, all the way to the end, making those passes there late to work your way onto the second step of the podium. Talk us through your night. Started in 5th, coming home 2nd.
Yeah, it was an interesting race. Needless to say, I didn't. I got on like 90 seconds before the race started, and yeah, it was thanks to my teammates helping me out. Made the race a lot better. Just had to save some gas, man.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like fuel mileage was a tricky situation for a lot of drivers there at the end. Doug Neal coming up short in the number 77. He drops all the way from 2nd all the way down to 11th. What was it like when you realized, Doug Neal's coming down pit road? You have an opportunity to come home with a 2nd place finish. What was going through your mind?
I knew I was really, really close, and I didn't get to use my apps or nothing. So I was a little bit panicking for a couple minutes because I didn't know we had to use the UI and stuff tonight. And so I wasn't sure I was going to make it. But when I saw that he was only 1 lap short, I knew I was good because I pitted 1 lap behind him. So Yeah, I was nervous, but it all worked out.
It was a great run for you and the number 29 here tonight. Of course, next week we do have an off week, but in 2 weeks we go to Bristol Motor Speedway, not for racing on concrete, but racing on dirt-covered concrete. What are your thoughts about racing at Bristol Dirt?
Never have done it, so it's going to be a learning experience.
Well, the good news is, I was going to say, the good news is you have an off week next week to maybe get a little bit of practice in next Friday night. And I'm sure if you're lucky, maybe Jimbo Casterline will throw up a session, as he often does. But nonetheless, that's going to be an interesting one here. I can't wait for it personally to see how that all shakes out. But Adam, we'll definitely have, hope you get good luck at Bristol. Before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my Simbox teammates and Jimbo and Justin and y'all for doing the broadcast and whatnot, and my personal sponsor, Mama Jeans, Pam Pittman. She takes care of an old fella like myself and helps me, supports me to go racing. So I want to give a shout out to her. So,
all right, well, great to hear that, Adam. And congratulations again on your second place finish. Started in the top 5, coming home with second. It is always a good night here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
good deal. Y'all have a good one.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the second place interview here tonight. And I believe that Andre Granbush is down with the 6 shooters and Scott Crump.
Mr. Crump, you got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4.
Well, Scott, I was wondering when you'd find your way to victory lane. You've been the king of qualifying, the king of stage racing. It's just later in the race, things have seemed to have fall apart a little bit at the seams week in and week out. But finally, you got that win that I think is very well-deserved. And it was pretty much a perfect race. You played the strategy right. The cautions kind of fell in your favor. Tell me a little bit about your night.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We had a bunch of cautions right there in the middle, and it was throwing out strategies everywhere. I think I came in, topped off tank, put 4 more gallons in, gave me a little bit more. And right there, just hope for it to go green. It did. I didn't know if I was going when to pit, how long I was going to stay out. Looked like I just played it just right.
And you definitely had pit road figured out. There was one pit stop, I believe it was the second to last pit stop, where you were like 3 seconds faster than anybody else on your total pit entrance to pit exit time. So you had that figured out to a T, and it was not a win that came easy, either on pit road or on the track. We watched you involved in quite a few battles for the lead. Texas, it's known to be a little bit tough to race side by side. What was the experience like behind the wheel fighting for the lead tonight?
Oh yeah, I think it was Matt Cherry up there. I was battling. That was a pretty fun battle there. He won't give me an inch, and we were racing tough. I think it was a few times going into 3. I was just about on his inside, and he cut it back down. And I was just hoping that we didn't wreck each other, which we didn't. Just kept it pretty clean. So I'm glad we can just keep it clean. I think one of the Tesoro brothers gave me a run earlier too, and that was pretty interesting too. So then when I topped off, I came out, I think it was like 3 or 4 laps in, there was a big wreck. Checked up, almost got hit from behind, almost got wiped out, but luckily I stayed clear of everything and was able to get back to the front.
Yeah, you definitely had no shortage of competitors throwing their hat into the ring trying to take that lead from you, but none of them had anything for that number 8 truck tonight. We have an off week next week, as Peter mentioned a moment ago, and we have, after that, the Bristol Dirt Race. You a dirt racer, Scott?
I don't mind it. It's not my specialty. That and road racing is not my best, but I'll hang in there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of drivers. When you only got one dirt track on the entire schedule, it tends to catch some drivers off guard. It'll definitely be fun for us up in the booth, and hopefully it's fun for you guys on track. But anyway, before we let you off the hook there, Scott, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make for your win?
Yeah, get a shout-out to y'all at 3Y TV for broadcasting. Get a shout-out to my sponsor, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, Jimbo Castellan. Give a shout out to Justin putting on the leg. Shout out to my grandfather watching tonight. And that's about it.
All right. Well, congratulations on the win, Scott. Good luck in a couple of weeks here coming up to Dirt Bristol, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
All right, thank you.
Scott Crump out of the booth. And again, Peter, I think that was a win a long time coming. We're at race number 5, I believe, of the season, and he's been so competitive week in and week out. Just needed that breakthrough win, just needed a little bit of luck on his side, and, well, he found it here in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, it was a pretty dominant win at the end of the night. Didn't lead every lap, but led a majority of the laps here, and of course started from pole as well. Let's bring up those final race results for all of you folks at home, and there they are on your screen. Like we mentioned, Scott Crump getting the win here tonight by 13.5 seconds. You don't see that an awful lot. Coming home in second, we talked with him, Adam Newton, in the number 29 machine. Good run for him. And, well, it almost wasn't a night for Jason Freeman, but he elected to run. Almost got second, was in that almost dead heat there at the end, just a 10th behind Adam Newton. Philip Scott lost those spots right there on the final few laps. Unfortunately for him, he's going to fall off the podium to finish 4th. Josh Smith had a great night going in the number 13. He comes home in 5th. David Buell 6th. Matt Cherry, what could have been for Matt Cherry? Going to be curious to know what happened to him and why he finished 7th. Definitely had a run that was well off the pace. Jeff Price being the last driver on the lead lap. John Flamian and Dominic Tesoro round out our top 10 here tonight.
And just outside our top 10, we got Doug Neal, who had to come down pit road with just 2 to go. He made a valiant effort to try to make that thing go to the checkered flag on what little fuel he had, but unfortunately just coming up a little short. He's going to fall to 11th on the pylon. Brandon King, we saw him battling up front quite a bit tonight, and he had a very fast machine. It seemed like he had this track figured out, but unfortunately the strategy did not play out in his favor. He's going to finish P12. Josh O'Connor going to be at P13. He's right in front of Bryce Hunter in the number 19 machine, who, I tell you what, the incident he got involved in and then overshooting his stall, still finishing 14th. So Bryce salvaging what he can, and sometimes that's what it takes. You don't always win a championship by win. Sometimes you just win them by good, consistent points days, and, well, Bryce salvaged some points. Steven Lashinsky had a bit of a trouble-filled night. I don't think that number 9 was driving the way that he wanted it to drive. Seen him get loose a few times, involved in a couple incidents. He's going to bring it home P15 nonetheless. Jason Shu, his number 3 team, did a good job beating the fenders out of that thing, getting the car back in running order after that incident halfway through the race. Brings it home P16. Julian DeSoro in the number 92, another driver that the strategy and the penalties just didn't quite play out for, P17. Adam Dama, he was involved in an incident very early on in the race, and unfortunately that damage was something that never quite was something that got beat out of the car. That thing was not driving right, so he's 15 laps down. Jim Casterline, with his mystery damage, we still don't entirely know where he got that left side damage, brings it home at P19. Garrett Gleason is going to round out our top 20, and the rest of the field, Fred Lester in the 48, Justin White, and Vinny Valvano with what may possibly be the first flip of the year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but that 64 going up on its roof and back down to the 4 wheels, and he's going to finish 88 laps down, and that is your field.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think that very much was the first time we have seen a driver go up and over, at least almost up and over so far this season. So, just a quick recap of the point standings. Scott Crump will extend his points lead with his win here tonight. Tristan Maher in the number 17 will drop back a little bit kind of in the point situation with him not starting here tonight. Julian and Dominic Tesoro, they'll just about stay station, although they'll have to keep an eye on tonight's runner-up, Adam Newton, who might leapfrog them up into the 3rd position. So we'll have it all broken down for you in 2 weeks' time, Andre, when we go to the dirt track, Bristol Motor Speedway. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think we've had a dirt race on 3 Wide TV in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series before, so I'm looking forward to it. I love when they just do things a little bit different, and of course that will be 2 weeks from tonight. But any final thoughts, Andre, before we leave the Lone Star State?
Well, like I said at the start of the race, Texas is kind of known for being a bit of a boring racetrack, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But I said I got faith in these guys to make it interesting, and make it interesting they did. I don't know how they did it, but all I can say is this is one heck of a league. If they can make Texas interesting, that is quite the feat. So good job to everybody on the track tonight. Had a lot of fun up in the booth. Even though I'm 50 some odd hours sleep deprived, I'm still glad I was here. Quite a bit of fun to be had, and I'm sure Dirt Bristol is going to be even more fun because, man, oh man, Dirt Bristol is something on the iRacing service. It's even more wild and chaotic than it is in real life.
That is for sure. So, folks, you won't want to miss that one here on 3 Wide TV. But for everyone here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, have a good night, and we shall see ya!